I was having so much fun teaching these little girls. Then my house flooded. We moved into a hotel. We got out of the hotel. We had our grand reopening on the exact same day that the state of California issued the stay-at-home order for COVID.
If you have ever looked around at your life and thought, this can't be it, you are in the right place. This is Flying Upstream, the podcast for people who refuse to live on autopilot. I'm your host, Kristin Medeiros. Each week, I sit down with people who questioned the rules, challenged the expectations, and chose a different path. Not because it was easy, but because it was honest. We talk about the moments that broke them open, the decisions that scared them, and the lives they built when they stopped doing what they were told and started listening to themselves. If you are done following the crowd and ready to trust your own way forward, stay with me. Let's fly upstream. Today we're talking with someone who is transforming what childhood can look like. Leah Ellis is the founder of the Society of Child Entrepreneurs and the mother of 4 young business owners who are already proving that age is not a limit. She teaches kids as young as 6 to build businesses, understand money, and solve problems, and speak up when it matters. Her message is simple and bold. Children are not the future. They are capable right now. Leah is joining us today with 2 of her kids, Melody and Serenity, as we talk about creativity, confidence, and what happens when you stop telling kids that it is too soon or too hard. Leah, Melody, and Serenity, welcome to Flying Upstream.
Hi, welcome. Thank you.
All right, so Leah, we're going to start with you. Let's dig right in. What moment in your life made you realize that kids do not need to wait to become capable entrepreneurs?
When Melody was 4, she decided after watching me start a business that she wanted to do it too. And at first I was like, you are 4, you cannot start a business. But she's always been very precocious and she looked at me and she said, why not? And in that moment, I didn't have an answer. And I realized there was no good why not, other than the fact that I was more afraid than she was. And that was no reason to hold her back.
That's so beautiful that you were able to recognize, like, actually, there is no good reason and have the wherewithal to acknowledge it's your own fear that was most likely placed on you, that fear of failure, fear of embarrassing yourself potentially, and that you're inadvertently placing that on your kids. And then to be able to say, like, actually, there is no reason. Actually, I'm going to kind of hold this back because my own fears and experiences are not yours, and I don't want to pass that forward. That's so beautiful that you were able to do that. And I know you often say that telling kids we'll talk later sends a powerful message. What do you think parents should say instead?
So I don't like the whole we'll talk later thing or you can do it when you're older, because then all we're doing is telling our kids you can't, you're not good enough, you don't have the ability. And unfortunately, then it becomes something that's stuck in their brain. If I tell her at 4, you can't start a business, you're not old enough, then she gets to 21 and she's like, you can't start a business, you're not old enough. Because we'll be honest, that imposter syndrome doesn't go away unless you tell it to. And the only way to tell it to go away is to do something. And so that means being able to say, no, we're not going to postpone these conversations. We're going to have a developmentally appropriate conversations. And a lot of times for parents, that means asking more questions than a 4-year-old. Like, because we all know 4-year-olds ask questions unbelievably frequently. But when your kid says, I want to do this thing, you need to turn on your inner 4-year-old and be like, how is it going to work? What is your expectation for it? What supports do you need? So that they can start problem solving and creating on their own.
That's incredible. Yes, I couldn't agree more. And for so many of us, it's such a mindset shift because I'm sure 90% of our listeners would think, no, a 4-year-old can't start a business. That's ridiculous. That's silly. That's a waste of time. But to have that moment where you're like, actually, let's do it in an age appropriate way and still use it as a teaching moment. You are still the guide. You're not just leaving them to their own devices, but to be able to do it in such a way that you're speaking their language and bringing them into the conversation is so important. And I think that's, we get stuck in that, right? You're too young, or this is not for you. And I think a lot of times the underlying message is you're not smart enough. Right. And that's never a message I would want to pass on to my children. But because it's just so prevalent in our society, I want to take a moment to appreciate your story of how you even got to this place. Because you had a daycare business and then things went sideways during the pandemic. How did that moment lead you to financial coaching and then building your nonprofit?
So it was very turnaround, have many steps over and over again. But we had a family childcare. I was taking care of little girls. Somehow I ended up with no boys enrolled in our program, teaching them engineering, teaching them letters, colors, numbers. I was having so much fun teaching these little girls. Then my house flooded. We moved into a hotel. We got out of the hotel. We had our grand reopening on the exact same day that the state of California issued the stay-at-home order for COVID. Needless to say, our grand reopening did not open. And so that was March of 2020. By April, my husband and I decided, well, we've got to do something. And now we have all the time in the world. We're going to start a financial coaching business. So we signed up we're Ramsey certified financial coaches. We went through the whole program, started our business. While I was watching those videos is when Melody started watching and saying, well, I think I could do that too. So she actually started her business way before the Society of Child Entrepreneurs was ever even a thought. And it was 4 years after Melody started her business before we created this whole organization that I joke was just a goal to get her peers. We needed other kids to talk about her business with her. And now it's become a full curriculum. We're working on passing legislation here in the state of Kansas. We do member nights. And it all started with, well, maybe she can.
So, Melody, you were 4 when this first started. Tell me about what your first business was and what the process was like for you to come up with something to sell and then actually sell it.
So I don't remember the exact process, but I remember there were a lot of questions to be asked to find out my product, how I was going to make it, what the business name would be. I even had to go and get people to vote on my business name because I was having trouble with that one.
Wow.
But eventually we went to Melody Paint. I was 4, so it was either Melody Paints or Lemonade Paint. And I did custom drip art, and I rebranded to Melody Creates just this year. And now I also do graphic designs, bag change, paper dolls.
So, how did this whole experience make you feel as you were kind of going through this?
I was really excited. I've never been a big fan of toys, and I was like, I can finally get money without having to do my chores. That's pretty exciting.
I
How else
should
did you
think
feel?
so. Yeah. And you're doing well. You've said you've rebranded. I can't even remember if I've ever heard someone under the age of 20 use the word rebrand. So that's so beautiful that you're already there. I love that.
It was really exciting. In July, she gave us a 5-minute speech on her entrepreneurial journey, and she was 9. And I was like, how many 9-year-olds do you know that know the words entrepreneurial journey, let alone want to talk about theirs?
As you have heard Melody and Serenity, many adults are even afraid to start their own business. And yet you just wanted to jump right in and you had an idea, you were excited about it. And Serenity, tell us a bit about your journey and what made you so excited to do this?
So I found out that my mom and my older sister had a business and that I wanted to make one since it seemed like fun. And I wasn't a big fan of chores either, so I wanted to make my own business to make money.
And what do you sell?
So I do $1 face painting, and then I also have $5 paperweights and $2 photo stands.
What have you both learned about running your own business? What is that like from the not just the fun side of face painting or creating art and painting, but kind of the business side? Has that been pretty hard?
It's kind of hard because sometimes you just really want to give up. Like, we've had 2 fairs in a row, and they have not been hot. They've been pretty bad. Like, my birthday, I sold, like, 2 things. So, it's a little hard. Like, you feel like you want to give up, and it's kind of hard decision. Do you want to give up, or do you want to try and keep going and see how the next one turns out? Because you might give up, and then the next fair turns into the 4th of July.
So, Melody here, she's rocking a sling. She's learning what it's like to be a maker with a broken wrist.
Has it been difficult having a broken wrist and doing all that?
Kind of. Luckily, I use Canva, and you can use your voice to ask what you want from that, and then I can drag with my left hand.
Very clever. So you've adapting.
I'm just gonna say it's pretty hard because, like, in social studies, we do typing club. It's pretty hard to get on home row.
I can imagine. I can imagine. And you know what I'll highlight here is for you, this was a broken wrist. and you found ways to still make it work, right? You're using your other hand and using voice commands. And for adults, we have so many obstacles that come our way in much the same way, right? And Leah, for you, that was the pandemic, right? That was your broken wrist and
Oh
kind
yeah.
of forced you to adapt in a new way and try things that you have never done before. So, regardless of whether it's a broken wrist or a pandemic, whatever it is, it's so important to learn that lesson of, yeah, let's make it work. How can we still achieve the same end goal, the same result, which could be creating beautiful art, could be maintaining your business, starting a new company, learning, whatever it is, but not giving up, right? Just because one little obstacle comes your way, still finding those ways, being flexible, and essentially kind of still staying true to who you are on the inside.
Pausing, partnering, and pivoting.
Yep. Pausing,
Ooh.
partnering, and pivoting. We just did a workshop on that. When your business faces challenges, you have three choices. You can pivot, you can pause, or you can find a partner. And you have to plan. You have to pivot and plan and figure out what are your next steps going to be.
Sounds like the broken wrist, you chose to pivot. And Leah, I want to ask about, was it your daughter that made $300 in a few hours?
No, so the kid who made $300 in 3 hours was not one of my daughters, though in some of their new developments, the girls have made, so each girl has their own business, but they also formed a partnership because they had COVID last year. They had to miss school, and as any sisters who were out of school for COVID would do, they sat down and started a new business. And they created a business called Lemon Time Lemonade, and they have been selling out of specialty lemonades that are $5 a glass. They have Tiger's Blood glitter lemonade. It is the best lemonade you'll ever have in your life,
It's very pretty too.
and it's also
That's
beautiful.
amazing.
If you
But
shake it up or stir it, it is beautiful.
Yep. But the kid who made $300 was not one of ours. That was another member. He sold 3D printed toys. And what's really cool about watching kids make that kind of money is then getting to see what they do with it. Because it's really easy to imagine that if you just hand a 9-year-old $300, they're going straight to buying a bunch of toys. Like they're
Right.
just going to buy whatever they can find.
I bought it.
But this young boy, he actually donated all of his money to his church to create a scholarship fund for other kids to go to summer camp who couldn't afford it.
Wow, that's incredible. To have a child with values such as that at such a young age where the temptation is toys, candy, that instant gratification.
Yeah.
But to have
Makeup.
makeup, yeah. But to have the foresight and the patience to actually give it to someone else, the level of compassion is incredible. So obviously you're teaching great things there, Leah.
Well, I'll give his mom credit for that. That was our very first fair, and his mom had taught him, to give to their community. But now I get to say, like, I get to teach kids like that, and I get to teach them how to make more money so that they can have a greater impact.
So what does confidence look like in a child who knows that their ideas matter and they feel supported?
I think the biggest thing is they're willing to have grown-up conversations, even though they're small. And they're willing to say, like, I have an opinion on this. I care about this. Melody, we were planting a tree for Girl Scouts, and she was mad that we weren't having a big enough celebration. So she actually had us get a hold of the Chamber of Commerce, and we ended up doing a ribbon cutting and a ceremonial groundbreaking to plant a 2-foot tree.
Wow.
Because she was willing to say, like, I want more, and I know what the resources are to get more. Both girls have spoken at city council meetings when they have things that matter to them that they want the city to care about as well. Confident kids are willing to stop an adult conversation and say, hey, wait a minute, this is something that's bothering me. How do we fix it? And then they're willing to go talk to the adults in charge to get it fixed.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, talking to the adults at city council, even for me, would be intimidating. So that's phenomenal. And you also teach kids to identify a problem and then create a solution. And
Right.
tell us the story of, is it the porch pirate workshop and what the kids
So, Melody, Serenity, and another young girl were at a problem solving workshop. And I told them, if you're an entrepreneur, you make a thing that solves people's problems. And because people want their problem solved, they give you money in exchange for the thing that will solve their problem. So the fake problem that I assigned to them was porch pirates because nobody likes having their stuff stolen off of their porch. So the girls were like, well, this is easy. Put a lockbox on your porch. Why did I tell you that the lockbox wouldn't work? Do you remember?
Because they just steal the lockbox.
Right. So the porch pirates might just steal the lockbox, or the delivery person might not even use it in the first place because they're on such a quick timeline. So then what was your next thing? After we decided we couldn't do just a lockbox. So the next step was 2 bolts in the ground to keep it from getting stolen. And then the third thing was what you were just saying.
The robot with the box inside it. It reaches out to grab the package, and then it has voice recognition. So you
And face recognition.
and face recognition. So if you don't know it's dropped off, it can see you and be like, "Here you go." If you do know it, you just be like, "Hey," you can give it a name. Can I have my package, please? And it's bolted to the ground so they can't steal the robot. It's wild robot style.
So they created essentially a robot with extending arms and facial and voice recognition to hand you your package on your porch and prevent it from being stolen.
Wow.
So then I look at you guys and I told you guys, I don't think you can do this. And the third girl who was there, Finley, what is it that Finley said to me?
She said, "I'm in robotics club. I can figure it out."
If she had a mic, it would have been the most perfect mic drop moment that a 12-year-old has ever had.
I love that. And that's such a great example of not only how real life happens, but, Leah, I love that you kind of push them to not just reach for the stars, but also be a little realistic in this. Because, yes, I do also believe anybody can do anything. You really can pursue, can create. And within that, we still have to operate within our society. And
Right.
there are some boundaries we have to be aware of. There are rules of physics, for example. And
Right.
so being realistic about that and saying, yeah, there's a balance there. Like, yes, aim for the stars and come up with something creative and outside the box. And let's actually make it realistic enough that it can really work.
She could go out and create this. I mean, if she got backers, she had prototypes made. This is something that she could sell at 12, 13 years old. I did have to tell them at the end of the workshop, remember, guys, this was just pretend.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I'm gonna make it, I swear.
Beautiful. So many parents who are listening right now probably want to support this kind of creativity with their children, but they might feel overwhelmed, right? This is a shift in their mentality. It also might be perceived as a lot of effort to give this much thought and attention to your kids when we all have a million things happening in our lives otherwise. What is the first simple step that parents could take to empower their children?
Ask more questions. Even if you don't act on it, even if they're all just theory and they're all just imagination, give them the room to be imaginative and creative with you by asking lots of questions about the things that matter to them.
That's incredible. So, Melody and Serenity, as you've gone through your journeys, what were those most important things for you? Like, what kind of kept you going, right? We talked about the fair wasn't so great, but you decided, well, the next fair could be better, so I don't want to give up. What was it that kept you wanting to do another fair or another project or sell another product?
Making the product can be pretty exciting, so I kind of didn't want to give up because I wanted to keep making the product and then possibly making money off it. And the fact I made $300 in one weekend.
That's
You did.
incredible. That's amazing.
And what about you, Serenity? When things get hard in your business, like if your rocks are all the paper towels are stuck to them and you have to clean them all, what makes you want to keep going instead of giving up?
It's pretty much really fun since I get to like scrub.
And you get to meet, do you like to meet new people at your booths?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And sometimes if I don't have all the rocks done, I like show them that if they get a paper towel stuck to the rock they bought, they can just scrub it.
Yep. And you can show them how to take care of it.
Her rocks are so good. Our mayor buys one per fair.
Our mayor does buy a lot of rocks.
Well, we're winding down, and I want to thank the three of you for being here. This has been an incredible episode. We've got one last question. If every child in the world could hear one message from you about their power and potential right now, what would you want them to hear?
If you want to try, just don't start it immediately. Check with your parents first. Don't just, oh, by the way, mom, dad, I have a business now, because that might overwhelm them. But jump in, get started with their permission, and parents they can do it as long as they're not breaking household rules. And I don't think that don't start a business is a very great household rule. So try not to make that a household rule.
Yeah, I think like Melody said, the most important thing if you're a kid who wants to do it is try something. Try one thing, even if it doesn't go the way you want, at least you've tried and you can try something else later.
There's this one girl for the first like 3 fairs. She had different businesses for like 3 fairs, and she was just like going and going and going. And I haven't seen her with the same business yet, twice. So she just jumping, get started, doesn't work. Try something else, upgrade, pause, plan, pivot, partner.
I love that. And that's so inspiring too, because even just using this podcast as an example, Luisa and I have pivoted many times, many times to get to where we are today. And every time we learn, and I don't even call it mistakes anymore. It's just learning. It's just learning. That didn't work. I didn't get the result I wanted. Okay, let's make a change and see how the next one goes. So that's incredible.
Failing forward.
Exactly. Failing forward. Absolutely. Just beautiful. Well, Leah, Melody, and Serenity, thank you so much for being with me today and reminding us that capability does not wait for adulthood. You've shown us what can happen when we treat kids as creators, leaders, and problem solvers right now. To our free spirits listening, let this be your reminder that the next generation learns from how we act today. Support your kids' ideas, give them real tools, and watch what happens when their confidence takes root. If today's conversation sparked something in you, take a moment to sit with it. You can find more episodes and resources at flyingupstreampodcast.com. And if this show speaks to you, the best way to support it is to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who is ready to question the path they are on. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and always keep flying upstream.